There was a time when men understood women without speaking. It wasn't knowledge acquired from books, podcasts, or carefully curated dating advice. It was instinct. A silent understanding rooted deep in their bones, passed down from generations that never needed words to navigate feminine energy. Before Freud, before Tinder, before a world where algorithms replaced intuition, men simply knew. They could feel deception before it arrived. They could sense desire before it ever became words. And this knowing shaped how they loved, how they fought, how they led. They didn't rely on analysis. They relied on presence. But somewhere along the line, modern men lost that primal compass. They traded instinct for intellectualism. They chose data over wisdom. In a world obsessed with clarity, they drowned in confusion, asking themselves endlessly why the woman they loved loses respect, pulls away, or tests them until they shatter. Because in this modern age, men approach women with logic, forgetting that in love, logic is useless. Women are not equations to be solved. They are oceans to be felt. They speak in metaphors, symbols, moods, energies. And the man who forgets this will never touch the core of her being. He will live on the surface, begging her to explain why she's upset, when she herself doesn't know. He'll talk instead of feel, negotiate instead of command, seek to understand when he should simply observe. Modern men try to debate their way into desire. They list their achievements, they showcase their status, they plead their value. But the ancient man didn't explain himself. He didn't need to. His presence was enough. He didn't argue for respect. He moved in a way that made respect inevitable. Because women do not fall in love with words. They fall in love with energy. That is the first forgotten truth. Every time a man over-explains himself, seeks approval, or dilutes his intensity to seem more agreeable, he tears a hole in the invisible current that draws a woman in. Because attraction is not born in logic. It is born in presence, in certainty, in the quiet storm of a man who knows exactly who he is without announcing it. Look at nature. The lion doesn't demand reverence. He simply is. The eagle doesn't justify its height. It just flies. The ancient man knew that leadership was not about dominating others. It was about knowing the path so clearly that others followed without being asked. A woman doesn't want to lead. She wants to feel safe following a man who knows where he's going. But modern culture teaches men that this is toxic, that leading is oppressive, that expressing masculine dominance is dangerous. So men suppress what made them irresistible, and in doing so, they become forgettable. The masculine energy within them dulls. They become over-empathetic, agreeable to a fault, emotionally available but spiritually lost. They become good men, but not magnetic men. And nature punishes the forgettable. It withdraws affection. It evaporates desire, not out of cruelty, but out of instinct. A woman's biology does not respond to niceness. It responds to polarity. This is the first law that modern men must relearn. The truth of desire. Women are not drawn to peace. They are drawn to the man who brings order to her chaos. Not the man who avoids storms, but the one who can stand calmly in the center of them. Modern men think being always available, always kind, always stable is the answer. But the ancient man knew better. Desire doesn't grow in comfort. It grows in tension. It grows in uncertainty. It grows when a woman feels the edge of something uncontrollable, something untamed, and yet deeply present. She does not crave monotony. She craves mystery. The emotional chaos that awakens her primal instinct to surrender. That chaos is not a call for manipulation, but a reflection of her design. She is drawn to power, not the power that threatens, but the power that commands. She fantasizes not about the man who texts her all day, but the man lost in his mission, whose silence carries weight. That's where her desire lives, in the space he creates by being gone but not absent. The moment a man kills that space with too much availability, with too much predictability, he kills the magnetism. He thinks he's being loving, but what he's being is suffocating. Because mystery is masculine currency, and once it's spent, there's no more pull. The ancient man understood that to lead a woman, he must remain partly unknowable. He must have a kingdom she can visit, but never own. Because once she fully knows you, she stops feeling the spark. She tests you not because she wants drama, but because she wants to feel the strength that first drew her in. She wants to know, are you still the man she admired, or have you become soft, tame, predictable? Most men fail this test. They beg, they explain, they react, and in reacting, they show their fragility. But the ancient man, he stayed grounded. He didn't need to pass her test. He simply remained unmoved by it. Because her storm was not a threat, it was a question. Are you strong enough to hold me? This is the paradox. Women say they want peace, but what they truly desire is a man who can create peace within their storm. They want to feel safe, but only in the presence of someone dangerous who has mastered his danger. That's the difference. Modern men offer comfort. Ancient men offered command. And she followed, not because she was submissive, but because she was free to surrender. There's a difference between being controlled and choosing to follow. And women are wired to choose the stronger frame, not out of weakness, but out of deep feminine wisdom. She doesn't want to guide you. She wants to feel that you cannot be shaken by her waves. That's why men who chase validation never hold a woman's soul. They hold her pity. She becomes the leader and resents him for it. She can't respect a man she has to guide. She doesn't want to teach you how to hold her. She wants you to already know. Because when a woman tests a man and finds him unfazed, something ancient inside her exhales. She finally feels safe. That safety does not come from his kindness. It comes from his his restraint, his emotional sovereignty. That's the second forgotten truth. Desire lives in polarity, and polarity is created not by proximity, but by tension. When you understand this, you stop chasing women, because they begin to chase you, not for your love, but for your energy. That's the brutal truth. A woman doesn't love what you say. She loves what you embody. She doesn't care how many boundaries you've declared if you break them at the first sign of pressure. She doesn't care about your values if they're only worn like a costume. She doesn't need your self-help quotes. She needs to feel the man behind the words. A weak man can speak 1,000 truths and still be invisible. A strong man can remain in silence, and yet every eye turns to him. That is the difference. Respect is not requested. It is felt. It's not announced. It's lived. The ancient man moved through life governed by an inner code. He didn't need to say, "I'm powerful." His very presence communicated it. His walk, his gaze, his silence, they all spoke volumes. And the women around him responded not to what he said, but to what he was. Modern men have forgotten presence. They're desperate to be seen, to be approved, to be understood. They dilute their truth in hopes of appearing good. But goodness isn't the root of attraction. Integrity is. And integrity doesn't bend for validation. It stands. That's why the moment a man starts seeking approval, he sacrifices leadership. He becomes a performer in her theater instead of the architect of his own world. But when a man stands firm in his truth, unmoved by moods, unaffected by accusation, uninterested in justification, something ancient stirs in her. She stops testing and starts trusting, because now she feels the thing she's been looking for in all the noise, a man who does not move, A man who doesn't just talk about values, but bleeds them in every step. A man who doesn't need her to believe in him because he already believes in himself. You cannot fake this. You must become it. Look through history. From Marcus Aurelius to Alexander the Great, the most admired men never begged for their worth to be recognized. Their worth was unquestionable, not because they were perfect, but because they were ruled by their own law. That is what the feminine craves. Sovereignty. Not obedience to modern culture, but obedience to a deeper masculine code. And she will test you, again and again, to see if it's real. She will push, challenge, provoke, because that's how she finds the edge of your self-respect. It's not hatred, it's hunger for the man who stands. And most men crumble. They argue, they justify, they apologize for having a spine, they explain away their boundaries until there are none left. And in doing so, they prove they were never the man they claimed to be. But the ancient man never played that game. He didn't explain, he didn't react. He simply looked her in the eye and let the storm pass through him. Because when a man has mastered himself, no woman can unmake him. He is not afraid of her emotions because he has mastered his own. He does not chase respect because he lives in a way that demands it without words. And that's the third ancient truth. Respect is not spoken. It's embodied. And when it's real, a woman will follow it, not out of submission, but because it sets her free. But here's the mistake modern men make. They confuse power with perfection. They think being flawless earns love. So they edit themselves. They shave off the rough edges. They smile more. They soften their tone. They suppress their natural instincts. But perfection is sterile. It's dead. What attracts a woman is not flawlessness. It's power. And power doesn't mean cruelty. It means being unshaken. It means being able to hold yourself when everything around you trembles. A man can have wealth, looks, status. But if he flinches under pressure, if he apologizes for who he is, if he fears rejection, she feels it. And her desire dies, not because she's ungrateful, but because nature has programmed her to seek out strength. And strength is not loud. It's not aggressive. It's not about dominating others. It's about mastering self. It's about walking into a room and being so grounded that no one can move you. That is the magnetic presence of true masculinity. That is what she responds to. But modern men hide their fire. They fear it. They confuse emotional control with emotional suppression. They bury their darkness, their lust, their rage, their desire to conquer, to dominate. Not because they're evil, but because they were told those parts of them are wrong. But they're not wrong. They're wild. And the man who suppresses the wild becomes lifeless, predictable, harmless. And that is the most dangerous thing a man can be, harmless. Because a woman cannot trust a man who is afraid of himself. If he's afraid of his own hunger, how can he protect her? If he cannot face his own shadows, how can he hold hers? This is the paradox. A woman doesn't want a man who is void of danger. She wants a man who is in command of it. A man who could destroy, but chooses restraint. Who could dominate, but chooses discipline. Who could lose control, but never does. That's what makes her body respond, even when her mind tries to resist. Her instincts recognize the power of the man who has faced his own darkness and made peace with it. Most men haven't. They repress it. And what's repressed leaks out. Passive aggression, shame, neediness. The very energies that destroy polarity. You don't build attraction by being safe. You build it by being sovereign. A woman doesn't want to mother her man. She wants to melt for him. And she can only melt when she feels his fire. Not as threat, but as warmth. That's the fourth ancient truth. Women don't need perfection. They need your power tamed, not tamed away. Every man knows this story. You meet a woman, she's captivated, she mirrors you, praises you, desires you. You think you've found something real, and then it shifts. She pulls away. You panic. You try harder. You become more available, more attentive, more loyal, and still she drifts. You wonder what went wrong. You think, but I did everything right. And that's the problem. You gave her what culture says she wants, but not what her soul responds to, because feminine desire does not bloom in devotion. It blooms in distance. She doesn't crave to own you. She craves to reach for you. And the moment she senses she has all of you, her fire dims. Not because she's ungrateful, but because the magnetism fades when polarity disappears. The masculine and feminine are opposites, and magnetism only exists in that sacred distance. Get too close, and the tension dies. Get too predictable, and desire suffocates. The ancient man understood this. He gave protection, provision, affection, but he always remained a little unreachable. He was committed, yet free, with her, yet beyond her, present, but never fully possessed. And that paradox is what ignites her spirit. Because she doesn't want to merge with you. She wants to dance with you. And dance requires space. It requires rhythm. It requires tension. But modern men don't understand this dance. They collapse into love. They lose themselves. They orbit her world and abandon their own. And in doing so, they become invisible, not to the world, but to her. Because the man she fell for didn't need her. He wanted her. There's a difference. She didn't fall for a man who revolved around her. She fell for a man whose world she could enter, but never control. And when you surrender that world for her, she stops desiring you. Not because she's selfish, but because she didn't ask for your surrender. She asked for your mission, your distance, your purpose. That is what she fell in love with. That is what she needs to keep loving you. And when she says, "You've changed," what she really means is you've stopped being the man she once admired. She no longer feels your edge. She no longer sees the man who stood tall with or without her. Because the feminine needs to orbit something bigger than herself. She doesn't want to be your sun. She wants to reflect your light. She wants to feel the heat of your purpose. She wants to know that your life will burn with or without her approval. That's what gives her the space to feel desire again. Not because you ignore her, but because you remember yourself. That's the fifth ancient truth. Women don't crave a man's total devotion. They crave a man who is devoted to something greater than them. And when he lives for that mission, his energy becomes sacred. His focus becomes irresistible. Because when a man pours all of his attention into her, she feels overwhelmed, not honored. She didn't ask to be your purpose. She asked to be part of your journey. And if you abandon that journey to follow her, she loses trust. Not because you're weak, but because you lost yourself. And no woman can fall for a man who has abandoned his own soul. When you give her everything, she feels smothered. But when you give her your purpose, she gives you her soul. Because women don't want to be your everything. They want to be led by a man whose everything cannot be taken. There's a reason women test men. And it's not manipulation. It's not cruelty. It's instinct. The feminine does not follow the weak. And so she tests. Not your patience, but your presence. Not your niceness, but your frame. Not your love, but your self-control. When she pushes, she's asking a silent question. Can you hold me without losing yourself? Can you remain centered when I'm in chaos? Can I trust your stability even when I cannot trust my own emotions? And when she pushes and you collapse, she loses respect. When she pulls away and you chase, she loses desire. Not because she wanted to hurt you, but because now she knows she can move you. And a man who is easily moved cannot protect. He cannot lead. He cannot anchor. That's the sixth forgotten truth. The feminine tests not to break you, but to feel your strength. And when you fail the test, it's not her you lose. It's yourself. Because you begin to shape-shift. You begin to perform. You begin to chase comfort instead of embodying power. And the more you seek her peace, the less she sees you as a man. Because your need for her validation outweighs your sense of self. That's what separates the boy who begs for love from the man who commands devotion. You don't argue with a storm. You don't yell at the wind. You don't explain yourself to thunder. You simply stand. You remain unmoved. You become the mountain that holds the sky. And in doing so, you awaken something ancient in her. A recognition that this is a man she can trust, not because he agrees, but because he endures. But here lies the most vital truth, the one that underpins them all, the one that modern men have buried beneath 1,000 layers of self-help slogans, performative vulnerability, and emotional outsourcing. The man who masters himself, masters the dynamic. Because it was never about understanding women. It was about understanding yourself. If you cannot lead your own mind, someone else will. If you cannot command your impulses, your woman will. And she will not thank you for the burden. She will resent you for it. Because the feminine does not want to carry your masculine weight. She wants to feel you carry it so she can finally rest in hers. This is the collapse of modern masculinity. Not that men are too aggressive, but that they're too passive, too apologetic, too quick to outsource their authority to culture, to society, to the approval of the feminine. And what's worse, they think this makes them good. But goodness without power is irrelevant. You were not born to please the world. You were born to lead yourself. You were born to become immovable, not cold, but solid. Not distant, but untouchable. Not violent, but capable of war. Because only when a man has stood fully in his own strength can he meet a woman without needing her. And only when he no longer needs her can she feel safe enough to want him. That's what women have always been drawn to. Not men who complete them, but men who remind them that the masculine spirit still exists, that the fire has not gone out, that there are still men who walk with purpose, who live by a code, who fear no rejection because they have already accepted themselves. And these men, they do not compete, they do not compare, they do not explain, they do not chase, because they are chased, not by women, but by the world itself. Opportunity flows to them. Respect follows them, and love, real, wild, feminine love, surrenders to them. Because women are not drawn to boys with good intentions. They are drawn to men who have faced their own darkness and emerged with discipline. They are drawn to warriors who have nothing to prove because their lives are proof. They are drawn to men who do not fight to be understood, because their presence is louder than their voice. This is the return of the ancient man, the one who doesn't ask permission to be masculine, the one who reclaims his wildness, not to destroy, but to build, who doesn't reject his primal instincts, but commands them, who doesn't need affirmation, because he lives in alignment. He doesn't shrink in the face of feminine chaos. He sees it for what it is, a mirror that reflects his weakness, his wounds, his doubts. And rather than resenting it, he thanks it, because now he knows what he must conquer, himself. You don't master women by controlling them. You master women by mastering the part of you that bends for their approval. You don't win attraction by becoming who she wants. You win it by becoming who you are. Fully, unapologetically, ruthlessly. A man in his mission, a man of his word, a man who doesn't need to be understood to feel complete. That man doesn't ask for respect. He is respect. That man doesn't seek devotion. He inspires it. That man doesn't ask a woman to follow. He walks, and she chooses to follow, because in him she sees something she lost in herself. Stability, certainty, fire under control. A man who could destroy the world, but instead builds one. So remember this: her chaos is not your enemy. Her mood is not your test. Her storm is not your punishment. They are all mirrors. Mirrors to show you where you still yield, where you still perform, where you still crave her more than you respect yourself. And when you stop fighting those mirrors, when you look into them and fix what's broken within, you rise. You remember. You return to the throne you were born to sit on. And from that throne, the world makes sense again. Women make sense again. And you stop fearing their fire, because you've lit your own. That's the rebirth of the ancient man, the man who doesn't collapse in comfort, the man who doesn't shrink in sensitivity, the man who doesn't run from the feminine, but welcomes her, holds her, contains her, without ever losing himself. This is what masculinity was always meant to be. Not control, not avoidance, not silence, but unshakable leadership. You want women to trust you. Then stop flinching, stop apologizing, stop bending, start remembering. Because the moment you stand fully in who you are, without shame, without fear, without explanation, that's the moment she finally sees the man she's been waiting for. The man who doesn't complete her, the man who leads her. And if something deep inside you awoke while hearing this, if the fire that the world tried to dim began to burn again, then don't let it fade. Carry it, feed it, walk with it, live it. Share this message with a brother who needs to remember who he is. Because the world doesn't need more nice men, it needs strong men, present men, men who remember what it means to rule not with cruelty, but with unshakable clarity. She doesn't want your apology. She wants your fire. She wants your discipline. She wants the man you were always meant to become.